Welcome to our channel about games
and stuff in the studio. Tonight we're going to chat to you about how to choose a board game for your group, friends, family, as a gift even, event, whatever it might be. We're going to go through some fundamental factors to help you
take into consideration.
Yes, consideration when you are looking for a board game, for whatever reason it might be. Board games, with their unique blend of strategy, fun and social interaction, have a remarkable power to bring people together, create lasting memories and offer hours of entertainment. Whether you're a seasoned board gamer or a newcomer looking to dive into this captivating world, finding the right board game can make all the difference in your gaming experience.
Absolutely.
So what's the first point, Sue?
The first point is knowing your audience.
Who are you buying for? Who are you playing with? Who are you buying for?
Yes.
All these things.
So age group is not such an issue when you're talking about adults, but it is when you're talking about kids.
Yeah.
Like what kids can grasp, if they have to read, if there's
a lot of text and it's rules heavy, it's harder to bring kids in if they're not experienced.
Yeah, but that being said, if a kid has grown up playing games, they probably have more of an understanding and can probably play something at a higher age.
Yeah, so the first kind of three are age group, gaming experience and preferences, interests. So,
very good, you did that well.
Thank you.
That's okay. Game experience, I think, is the most important thing.
So we're still talking about children and families right now.
Okay, so if you're playing with children and families, you want something that everyone is going to get something out of.
Yeah. So you're probably looking at a gateway game. And now, a number of these games that we're going to talk about tonight are not necessarily available at Target and Kmart and Big W and Costco. You're going to find these games in your local gaming store. Because you're in the hobby.
Yes, they are a hobby item. They're not necessarily a mainstream game. I mean, some of them are.
Some of them are. Catan is now available in Big W and Target and places like that.
And a lot
Ticket
of
to
party
Ride
games
as well, and a lot of the party games. And they are other considerations. So we sort of jumped ahead a little bit
okay.
here.
We're going to cover lots of things.
We're going to cover lots of things.
This is a casual chat. We're not.
So if it's kids and families, you're looking at Ticket to Ride and maybe Quirkle.
Quirkle's great because there is no reading. It's not necessary.
No, it's not rules heavy. It's a very simple strategy game to pick up. Yeah, shapes and colours.
But still, for the adult, there's quite a lot of strategy in it.
So if you're a family and your kids are a little bit more into the board gaming hobby, you might want to look at Potion Explosion, which is not a very difficult game to play, and it's a lot of fun.
But you do have to think ahead.
Yeah.
Like you have to have that ability to actually think ahead of the moves you're going to make.
I'm going to look up the rating for Potion Explosion if I can get my mouse to work.
Anyway, we're talking about game experience, and I think the level of game experience really does matter when if you're having a get-together and you're maybe getting new players in, you want to probably go with some sort of gateway game that.
Yep. I consider
not too difficult for them.
Potion Explosion is a 7.1 for popularity and a 1.78 on weight.
Yeah.
So it's well within the realms of new gamers and young families.
And we're going to talk a bit more about its complexity later on.
The age setting for Potion Explosion is 8+.
So that's reasonable.
Right in there.
You could probably get younger ones to play it if they're experienced into games.
And have some adult coaching along the way. Absolutely. So another part of your age group is 20-somethings. Are they engaged in board gaming? Now, if you're buying a gift for a 20-something and they're not really engaged in board gaming, then you need to look at something in the party game universe.
It's all about attention span, isn't
it? It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Attention span. And some 20-year-olds just don't have that attention span that you think they should have at that age.
So where would you go there? You go for the party games. You go for code names, maybe?
Code names, Dixit. Well, Dixit's not really a party game, but it could be used as one because it does large groups.
It does large groups, does bigger groups. That's the other thing. 20-somethings are probably more likely to play in bigger groups.
Yeah. Poetry, and there's likely to be drinking.
No.
Just saying.
Drinking.
Anyway, you want to play at a comfortable complexity level for everyone at the table, because you don't want anyone to feel like this is way too hard, way out of my league, can't play, they won't enjoy it, and they probably won't go back for more. So the other thing we need to consider is people's preferences and interests that they might have. Because
That plays to theme.
if you have a game about biology and you've got someone that hates science, like, you're probably not going to win that. It's not going to be a great game.
Thematically,
But yeah, well, yes.
for me, I am less inclined to be bothered by theme.
Yes, I know.
I'm
You and I both.
more inclined to play towards mechanic, and there's my enjoyment.
I think if you've got someone that maybe doesn't like losing, which is a very common thing we see, so you might want to introduce them to a cooperative game where you're all playing together and you either win or lose the game, and the game is trying to beat you.
Yeah, I agree. If
You concur?
I concur. If a player has trouble losing, then a cooperative game is a better way to go.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, know the age group, the gaming experience, and the preferences and interests of the players. If it's a gift or a group that you're introducing to games, these are all very important aspects.
Agreed.
Yeah, cool. Player count matters.
Well, yeah, it does.
This is important, particularly with the party games.
Yes. So if you've got a lot of people, it's going to be a party game.
It's going to be a party game.
Most likely.
Unless it's Welcome To.
Or a social deduction game.
Or a social deduction game, or a 1v many.
10 players.
But Welcome To will do 100.
That's true. It can do it as many players as can see the cards.
Yes.
And there's a few of those flip and write games that will do that.
Yep.
I think cartographers, you can have a number of players as well.
So most board games will do 2 to 5 or 1 to 5 if you're looking for solo.
I think the most
play.
common is 2 to 4, but there are 2 to 5 games which suit families.
And often the 2 to 4 gets an expansion which introduces a fifth player.
Or a sixth player.
Or a sixth player. So you need to be mindful of that. If it's a family of 7 kids, then you're going to be looking at some of the social deduction games and...
Maybe some smaller card games like 6 Nimped will do up to 10.
Yes.
And that works well for kids.
6 Nimped.
We played it with
That's fun little card game.
The very first time we played it.
She beat us.
She did.
Yes.
So there are 2-player games and there are specific 2-player games, but don't rule out the 4 to 5-player games because some of them play really well as 2 players.
Splendor, Ticket to Ride, Azul, all play really well at 2-player, but they do a high player count of 4 or 5. Arnak plays really well 2-player.
Yeah.
And that'll do up to 5.
There are lots of games.
Castles of Burgundy plays well 2-player.
It does.
It just scales really well, that game. So, yeah, don't discount higher player count if you're just a couple looking for games. Having said that, there are many...
Yeah, games like Jaipur, which is just a 2-player.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
A lot of the deck builders, Star Wars deck building game is 2 players. Star Realm starts out 2 players, but you can expand it and grow it into more player counts. I can't think of any 2-player games at the moment.
No, and we shouldn't discount the fact that there are solo games as well.
I just said that. I said 1 to 5.
Yeah, there are lots of games that will play solo. They'll have a solo variant in the game.
Wingspan has a solo variant. Arnak has a solo variant. Castles of Burgundy has a solo variant.
I haven't played a solo game.
No, I don't play solo
myself,
games.
And there are games that are just solo games, which we do stock as well in store.
Yeah.
Erion and...
Sylveon. Yeah.
So then we can have small to medium groups, which is potentially what we play in. We play usually...
In groups of 4, yes. We usually play in groups of 4.
Sometimes 5 or 6.
And the the gaming options for that group are endless.
They are. There's so many games that fit that. I mean, most games will play at 4 players.
Yes. And well, because they're designed
yes.
to play like that. We're on a bit of a heavier game play at the moment.
Just testing our brains at the moment, which is fine. But 2 to 5 in particular, which is not that common, but there are games. Like Ticket to Ride was one of the first ones that came 2 to 5. But also Wingspan will do 5.
Yep.
And the Wolves will do up to 6, I think.
Yes.
Or is it 5? 5 or 6.
But then there's one we've neglected to mention for a larger group is Formula D. That'll do 10.
Oh, yes.
And that's a big
I was just going to get into
board game, larger group.
We have talked about that.
Yeah.
Yes, Formula D. But you also need a very large table for it. And it's quite the table hog.
Find the odd 1 to 8. A lot of the social deduction games are 8 or 9
games like
players.
Tortuga,
Salem and Bristol. They're all...
do more players. They're all different though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like Tortuga does 9, up to 9.
Yeah. Hollywood does 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a weird player count, but, it works. So that's player count.
Yep.
But that's important to note on whatever gaming event you're going forward with. So time management is the other thing.
Yes. How long have you got to play for your session?
Yes.
We will play for 4 or 5 hours.
Yes. And that may be one game.
Sometimes it's only one game.
Maybe 3 or 4 games.
Yes.
Depends what we're all in the mood for at the time.
And time management can also get down to the concentration span of players.
Yes. Or it could be that you're adults and you've got little kids.
Yeah. And
that interrupt.
being interrupted.
So you might want to play some smaller games.
Yeah. Quick games, 15 to 30 minutes. Medium length games, 1 to 2 hours. And epic adventures.
Which is what we're into
2
right
hours
now.
plus. Have we got any examples? Quick games.
Quick games. Well, I've got Love Letter and Sushi Go, but there are lots of them.
Oh, there are heaps. Rome and I'm just looking around here. The roll and writes are usually a lot quicker.
Silver and Gold.
Silver and Gold.
Fairly quick.
Yeah.
Boomerang is very quick. I think Coup would be fairly...
Coup, you play hands.
Yeah, okay. I've not played it.
You play hands of Coup. It's quite...
Okay.
It's not a long game.
Okay, so there are lots of those. A lot of party games would fall into that category as well.
Party games you can kind of get up from too. You can drop out, come back, and...
Or if you played Exploded Kittens, you can leave the game for good and go and get yourself a treat.
Well, that's a knockout game. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Medium length games, 1 to 2 hours, which a lot of games will fall into.
Yeah.
A lot of the games that we've played anyway.
Yeah.
So Ticket to Ride is about the 45-minute
45 to an hour.
Carcassonne.
About the same.
Machikoro.
Catan's about an hour.
30 minutes.
Machikoro's about 15 to 30 minutes. I'm trying to think of that range of game now.
Wingspan would fall into 1 to 2 hours.
Spans an hour.
Yeah.
I think it's 60 to 90.
A lot of the complexity 2 type games are about that hour.
Yeah. A lot of them do now play time per player. So 30 minutes per player.
I like that because then if you've got 6 players, you know it's going to take you longer.
Yeah.
But then there are also games that are quicker because you're all playing at the same time, like Quacks.
Yeah, Cracks, all in one, press your luck.
Quack of Quedlinburg.
Cracks is a very good game. And that's under an hour.
And that's a fun game for everybody, really.
Yeah.
There's not too much reading in it. There's a little bit on the recipes. Then there's the Epic Adventures, which is the 2+
big, long
hours.
games. There's a few behind us here, that one and that one. And
that one.
And that one.
But you could even start that with Terraforming Mars because that's
2 hours.
It's 2 hours, and we've played it with 2 players and 4 players, and it's still
2 hours.
Like it's almost exactly 2 hours. It's amazing
because there's a timer based on the tiles, and they have to be played. So it takes X amount of turns, regardless of whether it's 2 or 4 players, to get those tiles, the ocean tiles.
The ocean tiles.
Out.
You also want to get the temperature up and the oxygen level up, and it all just seems to happen in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So if you're after a 2-hour game,
Terraforming Mars, Ark Nova is about 2 hours.
I think that could go longer though.
Yeah.
It depends on what cards come out, really. It's very intricate.
But it's got an interesting trigger for endgame, which is the crossing of the two score markers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that could take some time, especially if you haven't, like in the early plays, it probably took us longer because
Yeah. Our first play
we
was...
didn't know what we were doing,
Yeah. Like Batoku.
which happens a lot. Oh, here we go. This is a crunchy one.
You've advanced on the
Yeah, I
paper. But
have.
define your style.
Yeah. So every board gamer has a style and preference when it comes to gaming.
Are you a strategy enthusiast? A party animal? A cooperative player or a thematic enthusiast?
Yeah.
We spoke about theme earlier.
We did talk about them. So, but that could be story-driven experiences, which we haven't talked about, with things like dungeon crawls
Yeah.
or Forgotten Waters, Stuffed Fables, things that are like an RPG, a role-playing game, in a box.
Robin Hood
Yes.
is a story game.
They take you through a story.
Almanac story. They're usually book-driven in some respect.
Yep,
They have
in some way.
Yeah.
Betrayal at Baldur's Gate is a very popular game. Also, Mansions of Madness.
That's a bit of a crawl.
Run by now. Yeah, dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
But I put that in that category, the story-driven games. Strategy enthusiasts, we probably fit that. Out of all of these, we fit the,
We fit the strategy.
strategy.
But we don't play Stratego or Risk
But
or
Euro games, I think,
Euro strategy.
just innately
Yep.
strategy-based. So they're about decision-making and planning and trying to outsmart your opponents.
I never do that.
We try. We're just not very good at it.
Yeah.
So even Splendor, there's a lot of strategy in there.
You lost your first 12 games.
I did. It's such a good game. Tapestry, Agricola.
Yep. We need
have
to play
not
that
played Agricola yet.
one.
It's- Stop interrupting me. Agricola is something that relies on you to make optimal choices, apparently. Otherwise, you're going to lose badly.
A game that has been around for quite some time that we've only just discovered this year is Castles of Burgundy. They did a reprint of it in a deluxeified Kickstarter style version with minis and all these things.
The word
The gameplay has not changed from the original because I've researched it, and I wish I'd picked up this game 5-6 years ago, but the box art was terrible.
That is true.
And that's a consideration as well. And this is what I want to allude to here is that you can't judge a game by its cover, much like a book. And you don't want spoilers. You don't want someone to tell you
Exactly.
everything about the game and spoil it for you like a book. You want to experience it for yourself. So taking the advice from your local game store people and your friends that have played these games is really a first port of call. Trust your friends, trust your game store.
So if you're a party animal,
Party animal,
you're going to want games like
Cards Against Humanity, Joking Hazard,
Codenames.
Poetry for Neanderthals, Codenames, or Codenames After Dark maybe.
Codenames After Dark.
Codenames After Dark. Muffin Time is a bit of fun.
The Fuzzies.
The Fuzzies.
I really want to play the Fuzzies.
Drunk Stone Stupid.
Yes.
There's the party game genre is endless.
The cooperative player. We've talked about this before. You've got someone that doesn't like losing, or if you want to work as a team, there are plenty of games.
And there's a twist on that too. There's often a cooperative with a betrayer twist.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Which is always fun, where it becomes one versus many.
Like
and
Dead of Winter?
Sometimes it's secret, like Dead of Winter. You don't know who the betrayer is.
You don't even know if there's one in there.
Sometimes.
There may be one, there may be not one.
It makes you paranoid.
It does, because you think everyone's against you.
Betrayal at House on the Hill and Baldur's Gate starts out as a cooperative and then twists midway through. Mind Management is a one versus many.
But it's a hidden movement.
But it's a hidden movement game.
So one person is hidden.
Whitehall and Scotland Yard fall into that genre as well.
There's also...
But in the full cooperative, you've got Pandemic, of course.
Micro Macro would be...
Micro Macro, yes, which is a funny...
That's a great one for families, I think.
Yes. We've had some friends of the shop play that one.
Yes.
And the maps join up to be one big thing.
Imagine doing that on the wall. That'd be cool.
Yeah, each of the iterations of it, they all link, and there's a mystery that follows
The whole thing.
the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the ultimate in the Micro Macro.
Cool.
Other cooperatives are the Forbidden series, Island, Desert, Storm? No, Island and Sky.
Sky. Yes.
Sky.
And the latest one was Forest?
Yes.
Forbidden Forest.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that completes style.
Okay, where are we moving to now?
We're looking at complexity levels.
Oh dear.
There's not that much to it.
We start with gateway games, of course. Beginner-friendly gateway games. We've already mentioned them through the course of this tonight. Ticket to Ride, Splendor. I have some other... Meeple Land.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Meeple Land. Quacks is on the...
Yeah.
It's not too hard to pick up.
They're generally between 1 and 2
Yep.
in the complexity rating if you search Board Game Geek, which we're going to talk about a bit more.
Dixit's in that level as well.
It is in that level.
Yeah.
I think, is Potion Explosion in that level as well somewhere?
A little higher up.
A little higher up. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are great games to introduce to people because they take very little time to learn.
Yeah.
Like they're very quick to understand how to play it.
I've-
It doesn't mean that you're going to win it because that might take a little longer.
I've said this before. I learnt Ticket to Ride 12 years ago. Now we have a game shop. That was my introduction. Apart from...
It was mine too.
Playing-
From a friend of mine.
Yeah.
We learnt Ticket to Ride with my kids and I just went, wow, what else is there?
And then it went from there.
Strangely enough, I learnt Blood Bowl that same night. And I
Right.
wasn't a fan, but my boys loved it.
Okay. Intermediate complexity.
Okay, so this offers a little more depth, a little more strategy. So Lords of Waterdeep. See, Cracks is listed in this. But
You've got
Stone Age,
Stone Age, Lords of Waterdeep, yes.
you're
I can
getting
see
a little
those.
bit further into mechanics, I think.
Yeah. Worker placement is a really good learning mechanic, I think.
It is, and it's
Having
not
locations where you go to and resolving the location
Yep.
is not
It's not necessarily intuitive when you've played Monopoly and stuff before because that's
roll and
quite
move.
foreign. Yeah, roll and move is...
Yep.
So there are lots of games, particularly in worker placement, that we can recommend for that.
Yep.
Then for the advanced and expert,
You start at terraforming Mars,
that's
don't
almost
you?
2 different complexity levels, advanced and expert.
You're looking at, well, we use Board Game Geek as our complexity rating scale
Yes.
in the store and in these videos. We try not to look at other sources because then you start to get a little bit confused. So we've chosen Board Game Geek as the one to follow. When you get above 3,
And it's out of 5,
BG
by the way.
rates out of 5. When you start to get above 3,
I think 3 is kind of the sweet spot for the middle of the road.
3.5,
Yeah. Once you're getting out the top half of the 3s, you're getting advanced.
and then you get into the 4s.
And these usually involve multiple mechanics,
Yep.
often in-depth themes as well.
Often really tight to manage resources and finances and get
Yes.
things done. You find yourself on your turn in these higher games.
You're kind of scraping to find enough resources.
I can get one resource and then I can spend that on my next turn. But they kind of accelerate. After the first couple of rounds where things are really tight and then you start to get the engines going,
Yes.
they start to
So
open up.
Terraforming Mars is one of those.
Terraforming Mars, Arc Nova, Bitoku.
And the other thing I want to say is the advanced expert games often rely heavily on iconology.
Yep. That's a whole other topic. That's a whole other video.
We're gonna do another video on that.
Learning board games.
But that's why they're a little bit heavier to try and learn. They
Yeah.
take a bit longer. And it might take you a few plays to actually understand how to play it properly.
Yes. Well, we don't pick up a game first play. And this is another thing. When people come into the shop and they want to be able to walk out and play the game immediately.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen like that. You need to actually sit down. Someone needs to learn the rules.
Yes.
If you're not doing it as a group.
And you don't have to read it. You can get on YouTube and watch a playthrough.
And then refer to the rules.
You want to do a combination of both,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
to get the best out of a game.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about seeking recommendations.
Yeah. Board Game Geek.
Okay, the first one is online communities. So Board Game Geek is the quintessential database for all board games.
Yes.
And it goes back a long way. And it comes up with stuff that's not even out yet.
Yes, it'll have what's kickstarted, has been play tested.
Yes.
It'll have production companies will list their games.
Obviously, it's US based, so they usually get games before we do.
Yeah. They do.
Unless it's an Australian game. But
Yeah.
yeah. So there's also other places you could find information.
Reviews and
Discords?
Discord, yes, joining publishers' Discords.
Yes.
And gaming Discords. Our store, we have a Discord, and people communicating there about games. And
I am also on one of our suppliers.
I'm on Birdwood Games.
I'm on Good Games.
Yep.
Publishers.
Good place to ask questions.
Yeah, because you're going to find people in the hobby
Yeah.
already on that Discord, so it's a great place to ask for recommendations. Reviews and blogs. There are a million reviews on YouTube
Yes.
of board games.
Yep.
Blogs, we've just started one.
Plug.
And funny enough, the first blog post is about how to choose a board game.
Yes, we'll be linking this to that and that to this. So,
Yes.
ask for recommendations from friends and fellow gamers, but you really do need to trust your local game shop.
Yeah,
They are first and foremost hobbyists to begin with,
they are.
and are in there because they love the hobby. And trust them when they say a game is good.
And we love talking to people about games
Yeah, that's
in store.
one of our big focuses.
And we're always curious to know where people are on their journey into board games, like what they've played already. That's why we ask a lot of questions when people come in, and they're a little bit like, what's going on?
Yeah,
But
you need to ask questions. You need to find out where people are on their board gaming journey in order to advise them on where to go next.
Yes, 'cause
and maybe point something out to them that they might have missed.
And if
along
they've
the
only
way.
ever played Scrabble, like, you don't want to go, here's Terraforming Mars. Go for it.
Yeah, we do.
No, that would be a bad choice.
We'll give them a Lacerda game. We'll give them Lisboa. Scrabble to Lisboa in one easy step. We can do the...
When he talks about Lacerda games, he's talking about a designer named Vital Lacerda who does very complex games.
They're great.
They are.
I can't win.
Oh, no, I
They're
can't.
still great.
So the eighth thing and the most important one is trust your instincts.
Yeah.
So sometimes the best board game choices come from your gut. Something might capture your imagination when you look at the box, because usually they show you what the board looks like on the back.
That's more theme reliant.
Maybe the mechanic.
And then on the back, you might get a bit of insight into the mechanic of the game. And if those two things align with you, trust your instincts.
Obviously, don't go for something that's like a 4.5 out of 5 if your group's only at a 2.
Yeah.
That's obviously probably a stupid option because you're going to really alienate some people at the table.
But challenge your
But if that's your goal,
board gaming group as well. Don't keep giving them
easy game.
easy games because it becomes too easy. You're going to challenge your
Did you just say too easy?
but
I know
not
you
in
said.
that. I have a pet hate people who say, "Oh, too easy," and I just said
Too easy.
too
No,
easy.
you didn't say
I used
that
it in the
context.
right context.
Yes.
So, in conclusion, whatever your budget, whatever you're doing, go speak to your local game store. They're in it for the hobby. They have a passion for everything. Our local game store is Gas Games. Hint, hint. Come and check us out. Help us out. We'll support you if you support us.
And if you have another topic that you'd like us to cover, then leave us a comment below. And if you have the time, check out our blog. I've just started it, but there's going to be more coming every fortnight.
Until next time,
Play
play
more
more
games.
games.